Hey guys, welcome to Paul Lart's Garage. Today we're going to be kind of talking about timing tapes. I was having a problem with getting a backfire whenever I let out the gas or rev the truck up after installing the transmission. I thought maybe amongst moving the throttle cable and moving around things that maybe I might have bumped the distributor or something somehow, or there was an issue with the timing or whatnot. But and on these Vortec 350s, they don't have any degrees or anything on the harmonic balancer except for one mark for top dead center. And so I thought, well, okay, I'm gonna order some timing tape. So there was two choices, a Mr.Gasket and MSD, and I got the 8-inch for this harmonic balancer. I think it's 8-inch, so I got the 8-inch, which goes all the way around the balancer. And so when I first bought Mr.Gasket, I think it was like $5 or something, so it's really not that expensive. But for what I got, it just seemed like it was a waste of money. I'd read reviews on Mr.Gasket to where people were cleaning their harmonic balancer up really good, which I cleaned it really good. First I cleaned it with a little bit of gas damp on a rag, and then wiped it down really good and cleaned it with soap and water and wiped it down really good, and took Scotch-Brite to it and wiped it down really good, and then used paint thinner and got it real good and clean. And as soon as I stuck the timing tape on there, I could tell the backing wasn't that sticky. I was like, there's no way this is going to work. And when I went to get my initial timing, revved it up to about $2,000 to see where I was, the timing tape just exploded. It just went into a million pieces. But when I went to take it out of the package, it had some instructions in there supposed to tell you what to do, and even the instructions were the package so tightly sealed that the instructions were basically stuck to the plastic. And when you tried pulling the plastic out to get the directions out, the directions actually stuck to the plastic and just ripped the directions all to pieces. But 2,000 RPM rev, and that's what's left of the timing tape there on the ground. It just shredded. And that's, out of 8 inches, that's what was left. And so I'm not very impressed with Mr.Gasket timing tape. So if you're thinking about buying some timing tape to put on your balancer, and you just don't want to spend the money to buy a harmonic balancer aftermarket and pay $200, $300 or more for it with the degrees already on it, I wouldn't waste my money on Mr.Gasket. Now, I did call O'Reilly's and had them order the MSD one, and hopefully it's going to be a lot stickier and a lot better for the money, as you pay $5 some change for something. You expect it to do a little bit of something, but I went above and beyond cleaning that balancer and getting everything clean on it so that it would stick, and even the sticky on it wouldn't even stick to my finger when I pulled it off the back end off of it. So if you're looking at buying timing tape, don't waste your time with Mr.Gasket. I'm just not impressed. So we'll see when MSD comes in, we'll see how well it sticks. But I kind of just looked at the top dead center mark and got it to what I believe was about 13 degrees and before top dead center. And truck runs pretty good. I'm still getting a backfire, which I think it may be the exhaust. When the people put the exhaust back up, they didn't tighten down the actually they torqued the bolts down so hard with the impact to the collector down there on the header. And I've got the brass expensive collector gaskets. They torqued them down in the sequence to where it bowed out. It's hard to explain without actually going down there and looking at it, but it kind of warped it on both sides. Instead of tightening them down snug and then kind of crisscrossing the tight, they just would tighten one and then tighten it all the way around, and it ended up making a gap to where it's got a leak. And so probably going to have to end up taking the exhaust down out of it and beating everything straight and flat, and then reinstalling it, which is aggravating. Some people, when they work on other people's stuff, they don't take pride in what they're doing, and when they do that, they end up breaking more than they fix. So kind of disappointed in that, amongst other things in the install. I already explained to you in the other video about the about the transmission deal that I'm going through right now. Excuse me. But anyway, been driving this truck for about 2 weeks now. Probably put about 200 miles on it, and it's driving really good except for the backfire. The other thing that I'm going to check will probably be my next off day, which is tomorrow. I'm going to take the valve covers off of it and make sure I don't have a rocker arm tightened too tight. That could also cause it to backfire, which it ran really good prior to me putting this transmission in there at up to about 40 to 50 miles an hour with no backfires. You can rev this thing up and it'll backfire. You let out the gas. But anyway, got to air this tire up, brand spanking new tire, and it's going flat. I think it's the valve stem. Probably going to take it back and let them put a new valve stem in it, and because I'm getting a bad vibration. But this is probably my vibration here. As you can see, that tire is like had it. And I actually ordered another one, the same tire online. It should be in next week sometime, and I'll get it on there. Hopefully this thing doesn't blow before then. But I got a few other things to do this truck before I really trust this thing on a long distance run. The person that had the truck before me cut the leaf springs in it, and the only lowering part about this truck is a shackle, and he cut the leaf springs out so he can get it lowered. And I guess because most of the stuff is riveted in, and you have to get some kind of tool to knock those rivets out and put bolts in it to put a kit that should have been put in here to begin with, which is probably going to cost me about $500 or $600 to buy the kit that I actually want. And then that will be my next project. The other is fixing these these cracks. With this thing shaking so much and vibrating so much, it's causing these cracks to get worse. This is fiberglass, so I'm probably going to end up fixing that problem and then doing the fiberglass afterwards. It's like all the cracks getting worse. That was not nearly as bad as it was when I bought it, and it's almost ready. I almost busted all the way through and ready to come out. I do have a buddy that's got another bed he'll sell me for $300, but it's red. It's almost the color as the truck was originally. The truck originally was that color red, which is okay, but it's not kind of the look I'm going for. I would like to paint this thing either black with some rally stripes on it, or maybe a charcoal gray or gunmetal black. And I was actually going to plasti dip these wheels red, kind of maroon red, and put some of those bullet lug nuts on it, which I found a guy that's got a set of 20 for $30 brand new in the box, that I'm probably going to buy, because them things are about $150 for a set of them, and he just wanting 30 for them, and they're brand new, never even put on. But other than that, the truck's coming along pretty good. I think motor wise it's a good running truck. I do have this wiring issue here, which I found a person that said he could do it. It's done it before numerous times. Said it wouldn't take him but a couple hours to get the old harness and everything out of here and kind of clean the truck up. Also looking at getting another intake. That's a Pro Comp. Actually found an air gap, an Edelbrock air gap for $200. It's like brand new. The guy installed it on the engine, decided he was going to go another route, and I can get it, probably talk him down to about $175, but you got other things more important that needs to be took care of, such as the suspension. I don't like driving this truck with them leaf springs like it is. When you turn, when you make a turn, you can actually feel the suspension flex. You can actually see it flex. I know it's kind of hard to explain, but it does, and I can actually feel it and see it. But yeah, she's coming along pretty good, and just got a few minor things that needs to be done to the truck other than the suspension, and then I'll probably start going to cruise ins and traveling with this thing. It's got a good running motor in it. I think the transmission is good. It just needs that tail housing issue addressed. And of course the interior's got issues. It's no show winter, but plan on putting just the roll-up doors on here. This side actually works, the electrical part does, but they just have so many problems with the regulators and the electrical system in it. that it's just too expensive and too aggravating to work on. So I'm probably going to end up buying 2 new doors. I actually found one for $50. That's complete door. It's kind of a tannish color, which I'm going to end up primering the truck anyway and painting it later. So that's really not going to hurt my feelings. Probably go buy that one next week. And then finding another one for this side, so I have roll-ups, because if you're going to be racing anyway, you know, that's probably an extra 100 pounds on that door. Well, maybe not that much, probably about an extra 25 or 30 pounds with all the electrical stuff on it, regulators and all that stuff. But other than that, it's just kind of just trucking along. And some point in time, this thing will be what I'm envisioning it to be when I bought it. But anyway, about time to start getting ready to go to work. Got to air up the tire. Going to get out of here and make some bank. And y'all guys have a good weekend, and I'll catch you later.